Department is on tactical alert.
Oh, here we go.
All right, Christina, thank you. We now take you to a live press conference with the LAPD chief, Jim McDonald.
Communities and respond effectively to any unrest or unlawful activity.
Yeah.
Let me explain for the public what all these means in practical terms. When we declare a tactical alert, we're activating a department-wide operational posture that enables us to reallocate officers rapidly, hold over shifts as needed.
Are those the Marine? No, those aren't. Oh, there's the sheriff.
Officers assigned to the field remain in their areas unless they're reassigned. Activities are narrowed to police work of significance or major importance, and officers who are able to return to the field in their areas of assignment. We also notify all relevant command staff, including my office, the Office of Operations.
Where are you going with the fucking cone?
In order to ensure seamless communication and
coordination. That's not your cone.
In response to current events, we've also implemented
what the fuck?
A partial mobilization of the department, which means we've extended watch hours, deferred days off for some personnel, and alerted off-duty officers to be ready for deployment. Our ability to scale up quickly is essential during this kind of fluid and unpredictable situation. We're deeply appreciative of the assistance we've received through the California Mutual Aid System, with officers and deputies from across Southern California already on the ground in Los Angeles supporting our efforts.
Well, that's good.
We're also aware of reports that the president intends or has deployed U.S. Marines to Los Angeles. The introduction of federal military personnel without direct coordination creates logistical challenges and risks confusion during critical incidents. Los Angeles Police Department, alongside our mutual aid partners, have decades of experience managing large-scale public demonstrations, and we remain confident in our ability to be able to do so professionally and effectively. We urge full transparency and communication across all levels of government. Our priority is simple: keep both the public and law enforcement officers safe and to maintain order. To the public, we fully support your right to peacefully protest, but let me be absolutely clear. Those who choose to incite violence, engage in vandalism or graffiti, or attack officers will be arrested. There is no tolerance for criminal activity under the guise of protest. And many ask, you know, not a lot of people, relatively speaking, have been arrested during this incident.
That's true,
well, I would say that I wouldn't argue with you on that, but many more will be arrested as the investigation continues.
Guys.
There will be many more subsequent arrests. Finally, I want to offer my deep gratitude to the men and women of the LAPD and all of our partner agencies who are out there standing side by side. They're working long hours under intense pressure, and what I've seen as professionalism, courage, and commitment to this city has never been more evident than in the past couple of days. Thank you all very much.
Buenas tardes y gracias al alcalde Bass de la ciudad de Los Ángeles.
All right, so there you have the mayor standing by as the police chief just spoke. They're talking about that tactical alert, which we told you about earlier, which means
isn't the mayor supposed to say something? I mean, I would assume that she is.
What you're seeing right there in downtown LA. He also talked about the Marines being sent to Southern California.
How about
that? And the lack of coordination with that. And what really stands out to me, Alex, too, we talked about the LAPD has decades of experience in dealing with situations like this. Now, some around the nation or President Trump may say, well, we've seen what happens in LA when there is unrest.
Yeah, look at this picture. Damn, I didn't know that.
Right? But I mean, that's the thing, and that's Bass's point that she's been making. Okay, the way that you can make the point to the president that you don't need the Marines and don't need the National Guard
stop burning shit down.
Not have a bunch of people out there throwing rocks and glass and
it doesn't make you look very good.
Shields and putting face masks and all the rest of it. You know, because this situation in this particular area right now is not entirely under control.
But we know there's an element of that who don't care. They don't care.
Right. They don't care. And so then the question is,
arrest them.
When he said people are going to be arrested eventually, but should some of those people be arrested now?
Yes. I think that his point is
fucking obviously
members of the LAPD know the streets of LA.
Right.
They know the communities. They've covered riots. I mean, I've covered 2 riots myself in my decades being here in Los Angeles. So they do maybe the best that they can with the knowledge of knowing the city compared to Marines who
have never been here.
They may be from Kentucky.
Never been here before and have no experience doing this sort of thing.
Well, they should have controlled the situation better.
To be a Marine is to do that kind of work either, and we've never seen something like that. But it is. My point is that just
if you let people sign up to be deputized to deal with this, that website would crash because there would be so many people signing up. Like, you would have over 1 million signups in like an hour.
Control.
Right, and some of them say, thank you, President Trump, for restoring law and order, when LA's, they would say Democratic politicians are not able to do that.
And they see a lawlessness that they feel is allowed to perhaps just go.
Well, it is allowed.
And fester.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's,
and
this isn't the first day, this is the 4th day of this sort of situation. But you see, this is the National Guard that was called in, and many of them sort of, we have not seen damage to the federal building, but they're not actively engaging with the folks there either.
There's quite a presence there at the front of the federal building. You have the National Guard and Homeland Security in the darker uniforms there, and they've been out there all day with that presence that was quite significant, with a lot of LAPD to the backside of that. Now they've moved in and cleared the crowd down away from the front of it. So it was an intimidating presence, you have to admit, in front of the federal building.
Yeah,
that's right.
You don't see anybody getting in there. That's not supposed to.
See, that's what I said earlier.
The question is, will that
you want to solve this problem?
Let's listen back to the chief.
You get a lot of people over there doing that. It's solved.
Joined by Commander Ryan Whiteman,
stops happening.
Who usually works Operation South Bureau, but during this incident is the Day Watch Incident Commander. So I'll take any questions you have. If they're detailed questions,
let's get it.
Commander Whiteman would probably be better able to answer those.
More to the question.
How does the mobilization that might be coming affect what you guys are trying to do on the ground, and what is your biggest concern with that?
Yeah, the mobilization is what we do internally to be able to get more officers out there. We had declared that earlier, and now we'll have the ability to have roughly 400 additional officers deployed to the field.
Are you concerned with the federal mobilization? I mean, the National Guard and the Marines possibly coming this way?
Yeah, when I look at this, and my assessment may not be accurate based on this thing's continuously churning, but I see 2 parallel tracks that don't work together, if you will. We're dealing with the issues on the street that you see every day. We deal with that with LAPD resources. When we need additional resources, then we reach out to the sheriff, who brings in mutual aid. We have 14 different agencies working with us for that purpose. And then only if we weren't able to continue to deal with that, needed additional help, would we reach out to the sheriff, who would then request National Guard from the governor. So that's one line. The other part then is the National Guard were federalized by the president to support federal agents who are working on behalf of ICE to do their operation. The Marines were brought in then today, evidently, to join the Army National Guard in doing what their main mission has been identified as, which is the protection of federal employees and federal property.
Do you feel that incites them? Do you feel that makes it any different on the street?
You know,
yeah, he said they were overrun yesterday. He did.
Emotional topic, absolutely. You know, could I quantify what that is? I think it has certainly heightened everybody's level of awareness and certainly anxiety.
She's shaking her head.
But to be able to quantify that, I wouldn't.
Maybe not a big fan, right?
We'll take 2 more questions and then the chief has to step out, but he'll come back.
I'll be back.
How are you avoiding less lethal weapons being used on people who are merely there in the way, potentially? Because
get out of the way.
Everyone that's being hit and being attacked, including press. I don't know, like it doesn't really make any sense that people are just being shot at.
Yeah.
Can you explain how you...
Doesn't make any sense why they're throwing bricks either.
Yeah, we minimize it through training, through the equipment we use. It is a target-specific munition.
Christ.
That's not to say that it always hits the intended target, particularly in a dynamic situation. I know that the situation you're referring to with the member of the media, we saw that. We're very concerned about that. And we're
the person who did that should get fired.
Trampling and the force, the person
Yeah,
on the force.
we're also aware of that, and we're looking at that as well.
Chief, go ahead. Just go ahead.
Stop throwing bricks. Yeah.
Come back, guys.
You know, all of the streets surrounding the federal building complex, Los Angeles, Temple, Aliso, Alameda, they've all been cleared. You pushed the crowd away from
Right.
it. I know you can't talk about all of your tactics, but in terms of the benchmarks that you want to hit tonight, are you moving people away from the freeway as well by clearing out those streets?
That's pretty obvious what he's trying to do.
Yeah, we're trying to move them away from wherever the threat is. So if there are people assaulting officers, which is often the reason they're taking rocks or bottles or pieces of concrete, then they will attempt to disperse that crowd so that they're not enabled to continue to do that, and move them out. If they can target individuals who've been the ones who are the aggressors, who are throwing the rocks, and they can safely go in and arrest those individuals, they will. Some of those will be arrested later. And after having been identified. And so this thing is moving forward in a way that some get frustrated with and watch. But we're out there, and we have an approach to this where we're not going to move a crowd into an area where it's going to cause additional problems, into the Civic Center or into the freeway. We're going to move them away where we think they can do the least damage, and we're going to try then and employ tactics that would minimize that even further.
Yeah.
How many businesses have been damaged and looted? I know there.
Oh, that's a good question.
Weather Division has put out that there's some looting going on at 6th and Broadway. And as the National Guard, have they actually engaged with these protesters? Some media outlets were reporting that they were actually sending out tear gas, and I know on our channel we did not see that.
No, not that I'm aware of at all. That I'm aware of, there were at least 3 businesses that were broken into and property taken from them along Broadway and maybe other places. As far as the National Guard deploying anything other than around the federal building, I'm not aware of anything like that.
Yeah, I don't know about that at all.
Headquarters damaged, correct?
Yeah, damaged, yeah. The whole Civic Center, there was significant damage as it relates particularly to graffiti, broken windows, that kind of thing.
Yeah, shit got fucked up.
Any talk about a possible curfew at all? There had been some mention about if things had continued.
They should do that.
Yeah, I know. We're always thinking about that. That's always a tool we can employ. We certainly hold that off and not wanting to do that. And this is a pretty isolated area where this is happening relative to the size of the city. So we would, if we were to use that, it would be done very judiciously.
All right, Chief, thanks.
All right. We'll be back. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
Is she going to say anything? Oh, here we go. All right, she can explain it.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
As I'm sure you are aware, there was a large protest this afternoon. Protests, and then also David Huerta, our esteemed labor leader in charge of SEIU, USWW, was released from custody this afternoon. So there was a rally around City Hall that ended up at the federal building. It was peaceful. It's my understanding that there's a few hundred individuals that are at the federal building now, but that there is no reports of violence that have taken place today or of vandalism. Of course, with the crowd just there, we will worry as it gets dark.
I mean, it wasn't that
as
bad.
to whether or not there are problems, but we certainly hope that there will not be. I just want to say I started off my morning with a meeting with a number of the leaders from the immigrant rights organizations. And as far as we know right now, there have been 5 raids by ICE throughout the region. I don't know. I know of at least 1 or 2 that took place in the city.
That's
but we're still compiling that information. As you know, ICE does not tell anybody where they're going to go or when they're going to be there. But I think the thing that was most important about the meeting today was listening to the stories of the people. For example, there was a woman, a mother from Guatemala, who was looking for her husband.
Yeah.
She wasn't able to hear about her husband and son that were detained at the Ambiance warehouse.
Well, why'd they get
She's not
detained?
been able to locate him or to communicate with him. And for the most part, the people that have been detained have been denied access to legal representation. This is unprecedented. In the past, when there were raids, lawyers were able to go in and meet with their clients. So she's running
I wonder
around
how much
the
the riots
area
have to do with
trying
that.
to find her husband, not knowing if he's here. Has he been taken to another city? Has he been deported out of the country?
Yeah, what about all
there
the
was another
riots?
statement regarding a daughter who was searching for her detained father, and at a certain point, she actually saw him moving into a detention facility. But since then, as far as she knows, he has disappeared. She is not able to find out where he is. I can't emphasize enough the level of fear and terror that is in Angelenos right now, not knowing if tomorrow or tonight it might be where they live, it might be their workplace. Should you send your kids to school? Should you go to work? And you remember this from several years ago.
Yeah, they're just going to arrest your
type
kids,
of fear
for sure.
that was going around. But
Fuck
I
around and
heard
find out?
today
Yeah, that's the
about
point.
something that is so over the top.
Okay.
Can you imagine having your annual appointment to ICE, your annual appointment? You're here, you might not be a citizen, but you have papers, and you are told that you need to go to the facility to check in. And then you are detained, and you go with your family and your kids, and the whole family is detained when you were legal and you were trying to maintain your legal status. So what this means then is that people are going to be afraid to maintain their appointments, which then pushes them into the closet,
because everybody
and
was
they will
maintaining
fall
their
out of
appointments before
status
this.
and then subject to arrest.
Yeah, they were all maintaining them
This is the
beforehand.
kind of thing that is happening in our city right now, and I will just take you back to last Thursday. Last Thursday, there was nothing happening in this town that called for the raids that took place on Friday.
What?
Nothing was happening. Nothing warranted the raids. If you remember at the
What about
beginning
the fact
of this
that they're here
administration,
illegally?
we were told that raids would be to look for violent
She's outright
criminals,
lying? She is.
people who had warrants. But I don't know how you go from a drug dealer to a Home Depot, to people's workplaces where they're just trying to make a living.
It shouldn't
At
matter.
Home Depot, you have day laborer centers so that the people that are trying to seek work each and every day will have a place to be so that it doesn't interfere with the business. These are not the people that we were told were going to be detained. And it makes me feel like
it was.
that moves in
Wait,
and takes
yeah, it
the
absolutely
authority
was.
away from the state or away from local government. I don't
Trump said
think
this the whole
that
time.
our city should be used for an experiment to see what happens in the nation's second largest city. Well, maybe we can do this to other cities. And then I read a description of our city that was so troubling to me. A description of our city that says that we have been invaded and occupied by illegal aliens and criminals, and that now violent insurrectionist mobs are swarming and attacking our federal agents? I don't know if anybody has seen that happen, but I've not seen that happen. And obviously there has been violence, and the violence is unacceptable, and we can talk about that in a minute. But to describe our city
I thought
as
I did.
a migrant invasion, and that we need to put an
I
end to the
definitely did.
migrant riots, and to call on various secretaries of the administration to go after our city because we want order to be restored, the illegals will be expelled, and Los Angeles will be set free. How is this a description? This is a despicable description of our city.
Sounds about
Our city
right.
needs to come together now and not accept this, not allow us to be divided.
That's about right.
We are a city of immigrants, and we have always embraced that. And if you want to hit our economy, you scare people from going to work, because you know there are sectors of our economy in this city where immigrant labor is the majority of the workforce. So this is damaging.
Time to fix that.
Hearing there from Mayor Karen Bass and the chief of police of the LAPD as we
cutting her
continue
off.
to watch protests in downtown LA.
A few minutes about
That, we're going to say goodbye to our viewers on Channel 13. Our coverage continues.
Oh my God.
A single mother.
So she's
gunned
just
down
crashing
in
out about
cold
this.
blood.
It's funny seeing her defend this. I know, it's hilarious, isn't it? It's not happening, but when you find out it is, it's actually a good thing that all of our farmers are underpaid illegals. Well, the slavery part too, right?